everyone, happy Friday. This is the CJ Show, and I'm your host, Colleen, and we got Gabe back on here.
Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. We're moving times around a little bit this week, but that's because we've been busy and had a big project come up. We're going to get the schedule here established, but I know a lot of folks tune in later after we record, which is cool. So welcome if you're live, and welcome for those that are watching a little bit later on. So
we'll just wait a sec, see if anybody's going to pop on, and then we'll get started talking about, how you can get the most out of the content that you'll be getting back. Just wait 20 seconds or so.
Too early for the happy hour show, so we'll do that maybe next week.
Yeah, we figured maybe it wouldn't be appropriate.
This is definitely water in my water bottle, I promise.
Sure. On Fridays, you never know.
That's right.
All right. Well, we'll just hop right into it then. So I know Gabe started the business because you originally started. Tell your story a little bit. You started, making websites for people, and then they didn't have any content, basically.
Yeah. We got started with the writing end because when I first started our main parent company, which is Business Marketing Engine, we were doing a lot of development of websites and mobile apps and everything. And we would deliver a great app and a great website and then say, hey, do you have your About Us page content written, or do you have some blog posts written and ready to go? And they're like, oh yeah, I'll get that to you. And then, months later, it never happened. So I realized that a couple things about content, people that enjoy writing their own content often don't have time to write it. So having time is a huge issue with it, because obviously if you're running your business, writing your blog post is the last thing on your mind. Or for some folks, and I even when I was much younger went through a period like this, they just struggle with writing. It's not their thing, and they're not comfortable with it, or they're not good at it, or they just don't enjoy it, even if they are good at it. So those are kind of the two main kind of points that I always like people to know, is that we can handle it for you so you don't have to invest time in it. And if you just don't enjoy it or don't like it or don't feel that you're good at it, then our team of writers can write your content. So that was kind of the main premise behind why we got started, so that when people need great marketing content, then they can turn to us, and our team of all our folks that are all based here right in the United States can write it for you. So that was kind of the idea, and we're been writing for clients since 2007, but Copywriter today as a product is actually just over 3 years old now.
Awesome. And so, half the battle is actually writing the content. The other half is, making it useful. So I know a few episodes, actually, we talked about the importance of using social media for your business, and, how you should be posting on that with your content that you'll be getting back. But as a business, other than social media outlets, are there any other methods that people use, or that you specifically use to promote your content then?
Yeah. You definitely, one of the easiest ways, obviously, to get things out there is through social media and digitally. But there's a couple other things that come to mind that can be really effective. One that we were just talking about actually before we got started here is creating basically, actual printed brochures or advertorials about your product or service. Direct mail, although it's constantly shifting, and kind of it's in some senses a little bit of a shrinking market. Because of that, you stand out a lot more in somebody's mailbox now, and the cost, there's like USPS, every EDDM or something. I forget exactly what the letters are, but it's like every door direct mail. And you can take your printed pieces and deliver them to an entire zip code zone for, like 30 to 40 cents or something. There's per piece. And they have some great products there. So I've actually done that with some clients before, taken what we've written and created, printed brochures and mail that out, or, taking the copy that's been created or the messaging and making, big postcards. So direct mail, like I said, although it's different than it was years ago, it really can be effective because there's less people doing it, and there's less junk mail now than there was 5 years ago, surprisingly. So in the sense that you can actually stand out with a valuable offer, direct mail is an option that you can take the content that's created and use it there. And even if you're an all digital, company in a sense, you have the opportunity to stick out and stand out to your customer by doing something like creating a brochure. Let me see if I have one sitting around here. Yeah, I do. So I don't know if everybody can see this, but this is from a client of mine. And they produce this magazine they are a foundation that helps with a skin cancer, with a specific type of skin cancer, basal cell skin cancer. And so they print that out and mail it out, and they obviously email and do all their digital things. But the value of this is that it then sits on their end kind of members' desk, keeping them top of mind, or their donors, that they reach out to, and it's sitting on the desk there, and you get to be top of mind simply by using what I would kind of call an old world media. It's not instant delivery. It's not like text message or anything, but that will sit on their desk and they'll remember them and they'll be top of mind much, much longer in some senses than an ad in a Facebook feed or a Google ad. And so that's one of the things that's probably overlooked the most in these days, is there's still a lot of value with traditional media. So print is definitely a great way to get it out there. And we have some great partners that do print. We don't do the actual distribution, but we have some great partners that actually can help you with the distribution and the printing and all that, and help you take the content that's been created and use it in that format. So that's one thing that comes to mind.
Is it effective for both, customers that you already have and people that you're trying, potentials?
Yeah, definitely. I would say the advantage of the existing customer list, that's where I see a ton of value in like a brochure like this, because that they actually, know who you are and they'll
take an interest in you already.
Yeah. So it's great for that, because you can make, if you just use some basic kind of top of mind marketing like that, and some remarketing and some digital and things like that. Let's say that one of your product lines in your business does $100,000 a year. Just for round numbers, you can push that to 120,000. You can move up 20% typically if you just do some basic remarketing, top of mind, and like a little bit higher touch marketing. And I have another digital service that I use that they send out a monthly or quarterly magazine, and it's cool. It sits on my desk, and and then I read through that, and again, it's that top of mind awareness, and it's something that you may, you might be sitting doing something else and you're not in front of your computer, or you're traveling, or just bored in a sense, but then you read and kind of what they're up to. So that's definitely the advantage of doing something physical, a physical deliverable like that.
Yeah, well, because then you could also reach out to, say you're sending it to somebody who has a business and they have it sitting on their desk, and then other people that are coming in are also seeing it. So it kind of works in that kind of way too.
Definitely.
I mean, people can't just like look at your screen and see what you're looking at or know who you're actually working with. So,
right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, definitely.
So obviously, like all businesses, they're always focused on, growing. But what factors should go into like the budget they create for promoting content then?
Yeah, with your kind of, the way I try to look at like a marketing budget around your content is that with content marketing, you develop your highest value clients. And so it's like an investment. So if I can take a prospect today and start to educate them and say, okay, here's the product the service that we offer. For example, like my HVAC company, they do really well with their content marketing. And so, when you sign up and do some basic service with them, or like, I forget what they came and serviced on our house the first time. But then, every month they send out a newsletter and say like, here's some home maintenance tips, and, here's what you should watch for your air conditioner or your furnace. And they just kind of do this education And then they talk about their service plan. So they have a service plan where you can sign up, and it's basically you pay, I think it's like $200 a year or something, and that makes you a member of their service plan, and it gives you 20% off, service calls, and it gives you like these discounts. So they're probably investing, a few $100 a month maximum, in just kind of like that internal, kind of education to existing clients. And out of that, they motivate buyers by saying, oh, well, you can get this and you get the discount, and it helps people buy a little bit faster. So from an internal existing customer list, budgeting $300 or $400 or $500 a month, you'll get that return over and over. But it takes 90 to 120 days to 6 months in some sense to get the full momentum on that, because you have to take people through an education cycle. With your prospect list, or when you're marketing or generating new leads, you want to start with what's called like a wide funnel at the top, something that kind of catches all of the potential people that might be in your demographic. So we could say, I'm trying to think of another kind of example off the top of my head. We could say with an invisible fence company, you could say, okay, well, who's the widest, group that fits that? Okay, anybody that likes pets. Mm-hmm. They may not have pets. We don't know that. So you could build an interest targeted campaign around that from, Google AdWords or Facebook ads, or you could run a campaign and you could say, okay, I'm going to spend $500 a month to, promote this content about, general kind of pet information. And then when people click through to read that general article or interest, then you take that, and inside the article, you draw them farther into like pet containment things and like those types of things, and you draw them down the funnel. So we'll say that you have, 2,000 people click and read your article, but then only, 250 click on something that explains how Invisible Fence works. And then those people you could do your heaviest remarketing to, or, you could have a free offer for like a free guide, and then they could download that. And then you would have narrowed the interest down, and, from that wide point down to the lower point, kind of, who's interested. So you want to funnel people from basic wide interest down to very specific interests, so you can reach out to them. So with that, again, you want to set with any marketing budget, you want to set something that you can comfortably and consistently do over time, and then make little increases as growth and sales increases. So I tell people it's never a good idea to go spend, say, $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000.
That was my follow-up. Sometimes bigger isn't always best, especially with that. You don't want to waste your money if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, so you don't want to necessarily just throw a bunch of money out on something and not do something consistent. I'd rather say you had $3,000 for the year and you're just starting out with a new product, and that's not a huge budget, but for a startup, and I've been in the startup mode before, that can be a ton of money. I wouldn't tell you to spend that over the next 30 or 60 or 90 days. I would say, okay, can we spend like $250 a month promoting content and building an audience and really looking at this, from the long term view, with the long view, because then you'll have an interested audience, you'll be building a brand, you'll be doing what you should be doing with your marketing and with your content marketing, which is, really investing kind of in the long term and building an audience that will be engaged and buy over time. Mm-hmm. And then you're consistently generating leads over time. And then as it works, you kind of bump that budget up a little bit and you keep reinvesting in it, because the biggest thing that always concerns me is with some startups or businesses is if they're not doing any kind of paid promotion or advertising or PR or anything what they're investing in every month, then the reality is that 95% of the time, all your competitors are doing that. And your business is really going to struggle because you're not feeding your business correctly with a good marketing diet. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. And while we're just kind of on the topic of, we'll stick with newer businesses. How much content should they be promoting at one time then? Like, how much is too much? You want to give a piece like adequate, an adequate budget. So if you have, $250 a month to promote, overall, then I would promote like, 2 or 3 main kind of pieces that have that wide kind of entry point of broad interest. But then as people read down through the content, it kind of gets specific. of, call us if you want to learn more about this service or our product, or click here to buy it or whatnot. You don't want to, take whatever the budget is and try to promote hundreds of pieces, because then you're just diluting yourself. Whereas it'd be better to take one or two, really focused pieces and really push and promote those, so that you're getting, interest in those, and you're getting some real kind of level of engagement and numbers and engagement. Because then, what will happen is, like on social media, in those campaigns, organically on Google, there's signals that are going out to all the other tools and people and things that are going on, and they're saying, wow, this piece is getting a lot of attraction or a lot of engagement, and it'll get more from that, just from an organic standpoint. So you don't want to dilute too much. So putting out one or two good pieces a week is fine, and then choosing one or two of those a month to be really the mainstay kind of focus will definitely be really helpful.
Okay. And is there such a thing as content that is, too old?
Yes and no.
Does it depend on the topic or what your industry is?
Yeah, it definitely depends if it's still relevant. If you feel like you could take that piece of content and give it to a new prospect or client that walked through your door and it would serve their needs and be valuable to them, then it doesn't matter when it was created. There's probably going to be, I would imagine that if I looked at the first things that Dave Ramsey posted about, budgeting and saving and being good with your money, years ago when he first started his podcast, then I bet you those principles are still good today.
Yeah.
But if it's a piece of written content or something you've created and it talks about something that's kind of industry specific or timing specific, then you should just go in and update it and make a note and say, we originally created this in 2015, but, due to new regulations or new products or new services that we have, we've updated it to reflect that, but the principles that we're sharing in here are still helpful. So no, you can never share something that's too old. There's a book that I love that actually just got officially republished called Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz, and it's written in 1960, but it's still the most relevant thing you could read about copywriting and advertising and all these things. So it's and there's a couple editorial notes from the company that bought the license to it and is selling it now that they added to it. So no, it can't. There's nothing too old, but yes, you probably do want to tweak it or make some adjustments if it is something that was kind of old, just to say hey, this was true back then, but now you'll want to consider these couple other extra factors.
Okay, and then which, like you said, revisiting it and reviewing it, that kind of brings me to my next question. So how often should these topics and content that you have be revisited and reviewed?
You'll always want to take a look at the analytics that you have on a piece of content. So if it's if it's a YouTube video that's doing really well and you originally wrote some content and came up with an idea and shot a YouTube video or something like that, and it's getting great views and analytics, you may want to go back in and add annotations about something and say, okay, this was true back then, or, you like this video, so check out this part of our site. You want to use your kind of reports and data that you have available. So with content on your site, like blog posts, you definitely want to make sure you have Google Analytics installed, so that you can go and say, okay, hey, this article from 2 years ago all of a sudden is getting a ton of traffic. Somebody shared it, the search algorithms shift, whatever occurred, and so you could say, okay, that was relevant back then, but now I'm getting a lot of traffic, and this old article relates to our new service, or I can insert a link or button to something of, how somebody could book a consultation or come and see us, or, look at this product. So keep an eye on what's trending and what's working in kind of your analytics, and then go in and tweak and adjust and add, new calls to action to it. It's definitely a good idea.
Okay. And I'm sure everyone just kind of wonders how you did it with Copyorder Today. So we'll just kind of ask a question that's kind of close to home. How much content was Copyorder Today promoting, about their specific service during, let's say, the first 6 months compared to now?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Early on, I think that it's really valuable to focus on direct promotion of what you have. So what I did early on is I had an About Us page, basic things on our services. Like I'll have to find the web archive view of our site. It was pretty interesting, but it wasn't as polished as it is today, and we're always updating and improving. But it was kind of pretty basic, simple sales page, and here's how you can engage with us. But what I did is I took the basic services page, or the things that were the clearest and the simplest to understand, and then I actually went directly to LinkedIn and reached out to my connections and said, hey, I want to let you know that we just launched this. There's two things that we're looking for. Number one, I'm looking for your feedback to see what you think of the idea. Maybe it's a good idea, maybe it's a bad idea, maybe it's something you would use or not use, but I'm really just looking for your feedback and help. And number two, of course, if you're interested in using us, I'd love to talk to you about that. And I got just a really, really warm, valuable reception and feedback on that, because honestly, I believe that people in general are good, and want to help, and are good people to deal with. And so I found that to be true, and I've always found that to be true when I reach out and say, hey, can you give me some help or some feedback? And so the positive feedback that I received, and the kind of just interest and like, oh, that's a great idea, or I'm confused about the pricing, or what kind of orders can be written, really helped me on two fronts. There was people that engaged and did buy, and we got some great early customers from promoting it that way. And then I also got like a great understanding of what the frequently asked questions are about the service, and that's something that you should always be developing and improving for your service or your site or your store, or whatever you're doing. Because if that's the easiest way to generate content, is write down the list of questions that you've gotten about it, and then have us or yourself, of course, write the answers to those, so that you can easily answer those common questions that come up about your business.
Okay, awesome. And how did you reach out to those people? Did you just do some random lead searching, or did you just post it on your LinkedIn page?
Yeah, I posted on my LinkedIn page, and then I also would go just straight to LinkedIn messaging and just message people directly, and write very personal messages like, "Hey, Colleen, I see your work at this company, and we just launched a service, and I'm actually just curious if I can get 2 minutes of your time for some feedback to see if this is something that would be valuable to you. And we're a new startup, so I'd love to just get your feedback or thoughts or help if you just have 5 minutes for me." And people can sense that authenticity, even if you're not a great writer, or you're not you don't have to be, super polished. Just be yourself and genuinely, be genuine about asking for help and input, and then people will respond to you. And you could do the same thing in a LinkedIn group, in your LinkedIn messaging, for business to business stuff. You can do the same thing with the right approach on, Facebook groups and in other social media channels. And, honestly, there's nothing wrong with picking up the phone and just calling people. And I've done that too. I know that probably makes people uncomfortable. But if you want to be successful, you have to be willing to do some things that are uncomfortable.
Yeah, definitely. There's what other question? I'm sure you mentioned this before, but this is just out of curiosity. Who was your first person that signed up with Copywriters Today?
Good. Oh, good. Yeah, I do remember. My very first customer was, I have a good friend of mine named Lisa Malice, owns a time consulting or a time management consulting firm. And so she signed up, and we wrote all her time management blog posts and things like that. And she was, I believe, my number one customer. That's awesome. Yeah. So I'm always very thankful for my early investors. Yeah. So.
Shout out to Lisa.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you so much for answering all these questions. We love having you on the show. If anybody has any other questions or, any comments that they want to make on this video, if you're watching it later, you can go ahead and do that, and we'll get back to you. I believe we'll be doing our Monday show at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I believe that's the time. So if you guys have any ideas for any future topics that you want us to talk about, you can go ahead and share that with us. We always look to engage with everyone, and this is kind of all about, our audience. So let us know if you have any questions. And if not, then we hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you Monday.
All right. See you later, everybody.
See you guys.